Suneera Madhani. Suneera Madhani.
Without much further ado, I'd like to welcome Suneera.
Hi, I'm Suneera Madhani, a mom of two, daughter of an immigrant, and an unlikely entrepreneur who built $1 billion business. Yes, billion. Now I'm doing it again and building my second unicorn, Worth. Shockingly, less than 2% of female founders ever reach 1 million in revenue, and I'm on a mission to change that. At CEO School, we mentor thousands of women to help them level up in business and in life. We believe that you deserve to have it all because honestly, nothing bad happens when women make more money. Grab a seat because class is officially in session. Welcome to CEO School. Hi, ladies. Welcome back to the CEO School podcast. We are still live from the Millionaire Founders Club Retreat, and I wanted to bring our next speaker for you live, talking about all the things that we just left the stage with. And this one is so incredible because we're talking all things licensing. What is licensing? How can you take your IP, your intelligence, your protected process and make some bank? We were completely mind blown as CEOs today. So as you know, we're here at the Millionaire Founders Club Retreat. There are literally almost 100 women downstairs. We have a huge conference room. These are all multi-seven-figure owners and business owners across every single industry. And we are looking for the next level things to help increase our wealth and decrease our time. And with that, I have brought here the best expert to help us do that, which is April Beach. April, welcome to the CEO School podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so pumped. You blew my mind today on licensing. I feel like there's so much that I'm excited to just dive right in for the audience. So if you could just give a little high-level background, because these women want to know exactly how to get their money right, their wallets right, their time right, and get the freedom. We talk a lot about the freedom formula here. So share with us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get right to the meat of it.
Sure. Sounds super exciting. I love talking about this. It is a huge secret that most people don't even know that they can expand the reach of their work by licensing their genius and their frameworks and their processes and their trainings. They're familiar with licensing, brand licensing, music licensing, but I fell upon this about 17 years ago. So I've been coaching leaders for actually 28 years, and my husband and I own 5 companies, and I was in that place where I had courses and I was doing consulting, and I'm also a mom of 3, and I realized very quickly that I needed to scale, but in a really out-of-the-box different way. And so I started licensing my courses and content and trainings about 17 years ago and teaching people how to do it ever since.
And at first I was like, okay, licensing sounds great. I have IP, I have tons of IP, I have tons of framework, but I never really thought about it the way that you helped me think about it, right? And so even, let's say it's my CEO School framework, let's say it's a methodology that I have for an SOP that I've created for customer onboarding, right? If I'm doing something, or if you are doing something right now that is really unique, or you have a unique style or a process or something that just really works, that you're like, there is a framework there. There is a framework, and it doesn't even have to do with your business. It could be this process that you have. You can actually take that, okay? Get this. You could take that process, and April showed us exactly how. We're going to get right into it. You license that to like a university, to other companies, to Coca-Cola, to Google, to even smaller mid-sized companies, or to college campuses, or to after-school programs. So share with us some of these real-life examples, because when you share that slide, that's when it really clicked for me.
Right. And I think that's important to see. And every time we're looking to scale, like we're looking, how does this apply to me? How could I actually do this? So the first thing, and you said it perfectly, is when you have a method or a process or a framework or a secret sauce, which all of us have, and we have implemented that, and you know that you deliver in whatever capacity, could be big, could be small, but predictable, transformational, measurable results with your system, that is something that is really valuable to other companies. Large organizations like you talked about, everything from corporations to nonprofits to universities to, elementary schools, all the way across the board, also to other consultants and subject matter experts. So just first of all, like the mindset shift, I think, is realizing, do you remember how long it took you to create that, even if it isn't forward facing, even if it isn't necessarily part of your product. And we were talking today, like a real world example, like if you have this amazing client onboarding system, but your business isn't necessarily teaching client onboarding, there are so many different pieces inside our business that we have perfected. And imagine, like, remember you when you first started, if you were able to say, yes, I'll take that system, please, and I'll take this, how much faster you could have scaled. And so now, being the leaders in certain spaces, we can actually take certain parts of our systems, processes, trainings, courses, even services, and license them into other companies to help them. We were talking about this earlier today. When we do things like this, as long as we're leading with helping that licensee win, provide better services, increase their profit, and we're always leading with giving in that way, then everybody wins. It's a win-win for everybody.
It definitely is. And we all have those systems and processes, right? That I feel like, yeah, it is special. It took me years to develop, whether it was even my hiring playbook, right? Like, we all have really awesome secret sauces. But the blocker that many of us had, so we're sitting around in our group roundtable and masterminding, and we're like, yes and no, like, who's going to buy this?
Right.
And like, how long is it going to take for me to do this? What is it really worth?
Right. So let's talk about the 3 types of content that companies usually line up to license.
Okay.
And the smaller the pieces and the smaller the organizations, the faster they are to close.
Okay.
And so oftentimes companies that are getting into licensing will start out with what we call like licensing quick sells, which are quick wins, both for you and both for the organization. So across the board, companies, you, me, large corporations, nonprofits, they're looking for 3 types of content. So the first one is content that fills distribution channels. Content is king. So when you have content that helps them to elevate their level of expertise in their space, or provide amazing content across their public channels, it could be articles, it could be smaller video clips. That is really level 1. And we are always looking for amazing contributors to contribute to our platform. So that's really the first area. The second area are pieces of content or smaller trainings that augment other programs. Okay. So when you have a solution or a mini workshop or even a course that isn't too big, or a system or a process, I want people to see that is, what is this puzzle piece that could fit into another puzzle? So when you have something that improves the way another business can operate or even levels up their services, that is level number 2. And then level number 3 is what I call completes. These are complete trainings, complete programs, and they are things, going to your question, who are we actually going to sell this to? Who's going to buy it? They are solutions that these companies don't necessarily specialize in, but they know that you're the leader in this. And the greatest thing about really amazing organizations is they know their lane, right? They know to say, hey, listen, we thrive in this area, but we want to get better at this. And so they know what they're looking for, and they value done for them solutions that they can just turnkey and put it in their business and plug and play.
Yeah, because it's a playbook it's done for you. Like, I wish there was like a marketplace. Is there a marketplace to buy other people's playbooks?
Yeah, really good question. There are some curriculum brokers out there. Our clients sell their curriculum and their content directly. They feel like that's the best case for them, and it hasn't been difficult for them to do that, but there are curriculum brokers.
And what do you sell it for, right? So let's say I'm listening and I'm like, okay, I definitely have some things there's things that I have on the shelf that I've sunsetted, right? We even talked about that. I've got such great playbooks and programs for entrepreneurs sitting on the shelf because I'm not launching. I don't want to do a webinar. I don't want to do the launch system, but I've got these great playbooks. I would love to get it into someone's hands that they can use it. So that's a perfect fit example right there. Who's going to buy it and what are they going to buy it for?
Right. And so we talked about this earlier today. The most important thing is figuring out what you want your legacy to be in this space. That's really step number 1. How well do you want to be known for the fact that you're the creator of that playbook? Is it important based on your, hill that you're building ahead of you to be known for that IP. And that's going to help you determine not only who you're going to sell it to, but how you're going to sell it, whether or not you're going to offer it white labeled, or it is really important for you to be known in that space. So for example, with your playbook, if it wasn't something that you were like, all of my IP is completely white labeled.
Yeah,
nobody knows it's mine.
It's sitting on my shelf. I want it to be used.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can immediately insert it in other businesses like yours that don't have the experience. And these are usually companies that want to be to your level, but they aren't there yet. They're looking for proven solutions or proven programs that they can instantly insert into their catalog of trainings and solutions and programs. So those are the kind of level of buyers, what we call licensing quick sell. These are small to mid-sized businesses. They close faster. And those deals usually don't close for as much.
Okay. And what does as much mean?
Well, our client's average first licensing deal is $56,000. But I have
awesome.
It's crazy.
That is awesome.
It's so exciting to see this. But we have clients that license their things for as low as $1,000 up to, our client that closed the largest deal was $1.2 million for a 4-year contract to license her things. So, I mean, it's across the board.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that I think it's important to also identify who you want to work with and what spaces you're really comfortable in playing in. So if you already work with companies and you already have a relationship with larger corporations, it's a natural fit, especially if you're speaking or teaching workshops, to then carry over, which many of our clients have done, your solutions. And instead of just teaching them in a workshop, we sell them as licensed programs, which is amazing for that company because then they can insert all of those solutions into their ongoing ecosystem. It's actually better for that organization, not just to pay you to come in and teach a workshop, but hey, we're going to live this. We're going to bring this into, everything we do within our community. So that type of a deal, depending on the size of the corporation, would close for higher.
Especially for those speakers, right? So I'm thinking of like some people that I've hired to come into my org for training and development. For example, I've hired countless different kinds of sales trainers and leadership trainers over the course of my 15-year CEO career for our employees. They could have just said, hey, after my talk, Suneera, let me give you the playbook. And instead of the little downloadable worksheets and whatever else, and my employees aren't going to go work with them. I still have to, I bring them in for these quarterly sessions or whatever that is. That sounds like a perfect fit for if you're a speaker. Going into companies.
Yeah, and we were talking about this today too, because that's a question. How do I sell these things?
How do I sell this?
And to be honest, most of my clients don't feel like selling it themselves, right? So because we don't really feel like selling things, we love to expand the reach of our work and be known for our genius and make lots of money, because money is a tool for good. But yet we don't want to do the sales side, which is it's not uncommon that I hear that. So the 3 ways we usually sell licensed programs is through, I'll go shortest to quickest, networking relationships, building on relationships you already have. What industries are you in? Hanging out on LinkedIn, shaking hands, kissing babies, doing all that type of thing. Asking for introductions. So that's way number 1. It's organic. It is the slowest way to sell, but those ways also can actually close the fastest. However, if you have those relationships already. The second way is speaking. So we have a system that we love for people to see this, where on the backside of speaking, the next best thing, the natural next step is exactly like you said, to give them the systems and trainings and processes on the backside. So actually selling your solution as a natural next step. So if you speak and let's say you take them to, 1 to 10 and you're speaking, and then you take them from 11 to 100 in the onboarding program that you give them on the backside, that's actually so much better for the organization. And they get that, what we call afterburn. And then the third way to sell is through partners, where we are establishing a relationship with consultants and people that already work with organizations because they are already trusted by that company. And so we sell programs through partnerships very similar to affiliates.
That makes complete sense. You just have to identify where your product, what industry or what styles of companies. It's the same thing as identifying your ideal client, right? So it's the same process for licensing of saying, okay, I've got this IP. Who is it most useful for? And then finding the vehicle to get there.
That's exactly right.
Even for authors, I think this is so great. We were talking on our roundtable. We had Dr. Romy, who has been on the podcast. She has she's a neurologist. She has the most incredible best-selling book called The Brain Shift. and she's got this entire framework. She's researched her entire career on burnout. And we were talking about, and she's a neurologist. So like, this is like legit her framework. And she's has the book. This is a great add-on even to that and she's speaking at companies.
Right. And she's a perfect example.
Of
She's
that.
incredible. And when we want to be known, so many of the clients that I work with, literally, they are growing their life's work. They have put everything into it. And when it's important to be known for your work, an extension of licensing can also be certifications, where you actually can certify organizations or individuals in your methodology and then license them the processes and the systems on the back side of it. So for people that, yes, we don't just maybe want to license a solution, but we really want to be known in a space, even if you are the go-to in that space already. Our industries are really overcrowded and saturated, and so that level of thought leadership is important. So you also consider creating a certification program with a licensing program.
I think it was just so insightful. One of the things that I asked you on stage today, and I want to bring it up here, is how does AI play into all of this? Because can't companies just create their own systems? Like, why would anybody want to buy my program when now ChatGPT can create one for them?
Yeah, it's such a good question. So a couple of things which we did hit on earlier, and I want to make sure we're sharing here, is that companies can, and they will, go create their own systems. And they honestly should be. We use AI in our businesses. We're going to improve systems. We're going to improve processes. We're going to level up our teams and everything that we do with the use of AI. That's amazing. But what companies also have identified, and I feel like we're even leaning more towards this, is what we can't scale with AI is relationships. It's trust. It is the personal connection. And so companies really value bringing in original IP. And they really value bringing in systems that we know, as we mentioned before, they deliver predictable, transformational, measurable results to their teams. And when companies are licensing a product, so if you have a course or a training or a service and another company is saying, hey, listen, we want to license that for you to add to our product catalog, they want to know that that is original. They know that their value isn't necessarily creating something with AI. Yeah. And then the other thing to that, which is super cool, I actually have a handful of clients we're currently working with. I learned so much from our clients. They're all just amazing geniuses, but they're actually AI systems experts. We're licensing their AI systems inside other companies. And what we're finding is many companies and universities and just so many businesses across the gamut are interested in licensing the original IP, the original framework, method, course, system, training, or service, but then also having the licensor, you, create some sort of an AI bot or a solution that goes with it that stacks on top of it. So they're getting your original AI or IP, but then we're also creating AI systems to help their teams or their clients actually utilize that original training even more. It's so cool.
It is really cool. I think there's like that service component, especially if you want to, if that even aligns with your current brand. So if it is part of what you're already doing, then you can add on the service with it. I just think it's what really got me was like, there's definitely a ton of IP that we all have, right? And that it should be licensed. We can, and there is a space for it. You were talking about universities now want to, they're professors that are not in the field that are teaching things. They've been teaching a profession or teaching a course, a university course for so long, let's say on entrepreneurship was like an example that came up, but they're not entrepreneurs, right? And so they want curriculum from real, tested, tried and true playbooks. And so they would want, to license a playbook from actual entrepreneurs. And so I thought that was really interesting that there are things, whether you're an author, whether you whatever your, even if you're in a service industry, if you're in tech, right, things are changing so fast. Other tech companies can implement your systems for how you're implementing your technology or that edge that you have. And so I think it's really cool to think about that. And it's something that I hadn't thought about. And I was like, we got to bring this conversation to all of you so that your wheels can start spinning. And the last thing that I want to ask you, because, okay, so you can license any sort of true intellectual property. We can sell it to the right buyers. There's a buyer market out there. There are awesome agencies like yours that can just kind of handle that process from putting it together, the framework, all of that, and helping us create all that structure, which is exciting. How much time, right? Because now this isn't my business. I've got lots of stuff going on. How much time does it actually take? If I don't want to have the big win, but if I want some of those smaller, quick wins to kind of get going, to say, hey, you know what? I want to explore this because I don't want to invest a ton of time and dollars into something that's not what my company's doing right now. So what would be the appropriate time frame that you would request from a client to say, I want you to think about it. This is how much time this is going to realistically take.
I love that question. So in direct response,
Yeah.
the businesses that are qualified to license,
Yes.
those people that are established experts in their space, are all super duper busy
Yeah.
running their company, right?
Fair point.
So because of that, what we find with licensing, actually, the greatest deal of time, I'll answer a direct question as far as giving you hours and time frame here, but it's learning something new.
Okay.
It's changing the way you think about your material, about your content. And so we find that some businesses, they can wrap their head around that right away. Some leaders are like, yes, I'm totally ready to go. Let's get this going. I can't wait to get it out there. While others, they're trying to figure out what their strategy is. So the most important time, whether it takes you one day or a month, is to really understand, what do you want the extent of the reach of your work to be? Because the difference with licensing versus launching a consulting service or a course or even, a speaking engagement circuit or whatever you would do is that we can't take it back. We're giving another company permission to utilize your materials. And so the most important thing is understanding the impact you want to have, where you want your work to reach, and the industry that you want to work with. And sometimes just that decision-making time, again, learning something new as established business owners is sometimes a little difficult because we are busy at that. I would say that that's the longest period of time. The licensing work itself is super simple because we actually sell it before we build it, which is amazing. So I usually say 30 days, where there's quite a bit of understanding. And the only reason why I say quite a bit is because I really feel like in my unique position that it's my responsibility to open up the world of options, because what's good for you might not be something that's good for me. So it's just really, it's like a buffet, right? If this, then that. It's really assessing your options, understanding where you want to be in your space, what you want your legacy and what you want your thought leadership to be, if that matters at all. And then choosing how you're going to, or you can white label it. Yeah. And then choosing how to go about it. So we actually create licensing programs and licensing strategies and create licensing action plans on paper, all the way down to the pricing process before we ever sell it. Because the beauty of licensing is that we can actually sell it. And then there's usually a period of time until we need to deliver it. If it's a larger corporation, they're busy with other initiatives. They may say, hey, listen, this is awesome. We're going to take this from you and we'll start it in January. Universities bring in things at certain times a year, and so do other small businesses. So I love selling before we build, but really 30 days to give yourself permission to think differently, to see how far your work can help other businesses and expand other countries. There's so many different industries that probably could utilize things that you've created that you might not have even thought of yet. And so knowing your options, I feel, is the most time-consuming part.
I think that's really, I've just never thought about licensing. I think it was really brilliant, and I think it's really applicable. And I think that we have so many incredible women, and women are so great at process. Like, we are such great detail, like in the details. We can really think, like we really do have these extra skill sets in putting a process together without even knowing it, because there's a way that we go about it. We're actually really methodical with our stuff. Like, we really are, because we're super type A about how things are done. And so there's systems in that, there's frameworks in that. And I think that that's really just a really cool way to also think about your business in that way. Even if you're not selling it to even think about your intellectual property in that way. I think that when I think about businesses, and something I always encourage all of our entrepreneurs to think about is to build your business like an asset. Like there's enterprise value here. When you have IP and you have these frameworks or licensed IP around it, even if you put together that structure and that framework, that's part of your entire enterprise value that goes up for your company, right? Because you now have IP around it. It's protected IP. There's a specific methodology around it. So it's not replicable. So it creates this additional level of not just like thought leadership to say this is a licensed process. And so there's like more than just even the sales component of it. I think that it's that enterprise value that you can add to your overall company.
You're exactly right. And then think about what that does for the licensor.
Yeah.
So just to speak to that, I was talking to a client this week, and he's licensing his process in a company that is looking to be acquired. And one of the value props for the company that he's licensing his processes into for that other company to increase evaluation was the fact that they had his program because it's original. So the benefits of licensing are just across the board. And I also love that you said that, we can franchise, we can exit. There are other things we can do, but licensing is a really great solution without going that in depth.
Yeah, I think this is super fantastic. How can we find you? I'm going to link everything on the show notes, but how do we find you? How can we? I'm sure you're all over all the I know you posted a bunch of stuff on for our screen, so we'll. Let's say hello and DM April over here and pick her smart brain on licensing. We're like, hey, is this licensable? I think that's a really fair. Let's DM her. Where can we find you?
You can find me at sweetlifeco.com or April Beach Licensing on Instagram and April Beach on LinkedIn.
Okay,
we
perfect.
have a YouTube channel too.
Link it all, and I hope you take away something exciting from this conversation. We're just loving the energy downstairs. We're going to get back downstairs now. It's happy hour time and fun and mingle. We've had so many incredible sessions. Tomorrow, so for next week, I'll be back with another episode from Millionaire Founders Club Live, but we're going to record 2 more shows so that you guys can just binge through all of the stuff that's happening behind the scenes here. If you want to get in the room and you're a 7-figure founder, I want to invite you into the room. We've got a few final spots left to complete our 100 cohort. It is so special. These conversations are just next level, and I hope you guys are enjoying them. So please screenshot this episode, send us a DM, send April a DM, send me a hello, and I'll see you guys next week on the CEO School podcast. Bye, everyone.